Alrighty, everybody, welcome to Watercolor Wednesday. And today we're painting a black cat, which would normally be right there. Got it sketched out here, but I guess there's one thing I have to say before I put the picture up there. It's not a black cat, but I like the image so much. There it is, that we're gonna make it a black cat. I looked at lots of pictures of cats and I wanted to paint them, and I saw this one and I went, that's a great picture. It embodies kind of the fierce scariness of the cat. It's something I really want to try to paint. I like the image. We're gonna make it a black cat, so we're gonna go with that one. It's over here. I've pre-drawn it on my piece of watercolor paper. This happens to be Arches watercolor paper. Over my right hand side, my paints are the same M-gram paints that I like to use so much, and still using tonight my favorite King Art brushes. Sherry, Natalie, Dana are here. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And I guess I don't always do this. I'm going to do this time. I'm going to paint a background on here because I want kind of that spooky green background. We're into Halloween time now, and I do want to get a little bit more of a mood going with this. So I'm going to add some dark green color as a background here. The reference photo kind of has that. I think it'll be a good bit of color to have in the background. And so I'm just going to get started with this. The colors that I'm using here, and there's no secret for any of this, is a bit of Cobalt Green, a little bit of Phthalo Green, so I can vary the green in there a little bit, and then some neutral tints just to knock it down. If I really want to knock it down a little bit, I'll throw in just a bit of sepia. But those are the colors that I'm using here, and I'm not actually worried too much about getting it perfect on here. The cat's going to be black, and so hopefully that'll take up any of the missteps around the outline of this cat. We can darken in around it with a little bit of black, but here it goes. don't need to make this super dark, but just something back there to set a bit of the mood on this one. So as I'm doing this, I just want to say I hope everybody's having a wonderful week. I hope this is a great respite for you, a midweek respite. I will say I've got a couple of things that have happened this week. I'm very tired, but also very encouraged. During my day job, we're hiring somebody new, and that person came to visit me today to get a handle on where her office will be and kind of the things she's going to be expected to do, and to meet with her team a little bit prior to getting to work. She wants to get a jump on some of those softer skilled things or softer areas, not necessarily the work that she's going to be doing. I think that's a great start. So that really helped to make my day today. I hope you all have had something equally as pleasant happen in your day. There we go. So there's my outside edge of this guy. Although, like I said, all I want to do is kind of, I think it's all on there. It's kind of get a little bit of color going. And while this is going, I'm going to start to mix some darks, right? And I'm going to try to stick with the same darks like I did last week. I thought that worked out really well. A little bit of neutral tint, a little bit of sepia. Come on, sepia. My sepia doesn't want to re-wet. A little odd. Come on. And a little bit of Paynes Gray in there to boot. Just mixing up all of the neutrals that I have, and hopefully in there we'll get something middle gray, really middle gray. And what I want to do is I want to get this color on the body of this cat, not necessarily its head, but the body of this cat, a little bit lighter. And I'm kind of okay if it just touches, if it just kisses the background and gets a little bit of a fuzzy edge to it. I'd be totally fine with that. Everybody's a little quiet in chat already today. I'm gonna try to carry the conversation. For me, my work week anyways, my official work week is over this week. I'm taking 2 days off, Thursday and Friday off, to get some well-deserved rest. I think I mentioned I'm pretty tired. I've been going pretty hard for a while now, and I think a couple of days rest to mentally recuperate are going to be a good thing for me. So this is another one of those streams that starts my weekend. Nice to have a couple of days off. Natalie, you said it. It's going to be so nice. I'm going to start by taking my youngest to school, and that's going to be nice. It's something I wish I could do a bit more of. There we go. There's my cat, just the bottom of the cat here. Sounds pretty plain, a pretty common thing. Everybody does it, right? Or all parents, not all parents, most parents do it at some point in time, but it's one of those things that I don't really get to do because I'm typically at work by 6:30. I'm there usually before some of the house even gets up, and so it's going to be really nice to be able to do some of those more domestic kind of things. Okay, I just want to let this up here dry a little bit more, and then we're going to put on some more of this same basic dark color, and we'll manipulate it a little bit later. I wanted to get it on because I want this outside edge to be a little fuzzy, almost as though it's kind of out of focus a little bit. And I think it's just easiest to get that on the edges out here while both are still wet. And if I do the outside first and I'm real careful with the water on the inside, then I can control some of the fuzziness, right? You can see, I'll hold it up. It's just really lightly fuzzy. Not much to it. And any of the fuzziness, any of the hairs on the head up here that I really want everybody to focus on, we're definitely going to put those in. And those will be intentional. These other ones on the body can be unintentional, and I'm totally fine with that. Okay, so that's where I'm at with this at the moment. I need to get a drink of water. Feels like I've been talking for an hour already, and I know it's only been a couple of minutes. I also feel like I really jumped right in on this one. And half of the painting's done already. It's not really half of the painting done, but it kind of feels like it. We've got a few more people in here. We're up 7, 8 people in here now. So would like to encourage anybody who's just coming in now to say hello, to ask any questions that you have of me, of my artwork, of this piece, of why I chose it, why I'm doing it in a certain way. Love answering questions. I'll be happy to take a crack at answering anything anybody has. I do have to ask, is anybody monitoring what's going on down in Florida? I was watching that during dinner before I came out here. Hurricanes are scary enough in my mind, and this one is coming ashore basically at night. Holy cow, I would be frightened to death if I had to deal with that. I wish all of the Floridians who are dealing with this well, considering they just dealt with one hurricane, they've already got to start dealing with another one. Doesn't seem like a fun time. Natalie, you've been keeping a bit of an eye on it. Well, look, I've got, oh man, I guess that was a little wetter than I thought it was up here. I got some color running all over. I'm not going to worry about it. Thankfully, I think, right, it looked like the winds, when it came ashore, had died down. They weren't maximum winds of, I don't know, what did they get up to, 160 miles an hour? I feel like I'm dodging around my camera tonight. I want to say they were 120 when it came ashore, which is not a small number of miles an hour. It's still quite fast, but not nearly as bad as it could have been, for sure. Boy, this really is running out here. I really misjudged some of this. I think I could pull a little bit of this off. Sometimes that happens. I'm just going to blot it off a little bit. This paper is really good about some of that. I guess the one thing I can't do or go over the eyes, so I'm going to be very careful and go around those as we get some more of this color on. So I've never been through a hurricane, and hurricanes look frightening. I have been through tornadoes, and I can verify that those are frightening. So I can commiserate with everybody having to be in some kind of a storm like that. Completely frightening. They probably feel completely helpless as the storm rages around them. All right, I think this guy is going to start coming together, start looking like a cat here in just a second. Sherry, what are you saying? I've been watching, they've been getting tornadoes along. I saw that earlier today that the hurricane spawned a number of tornadoes, which is crazy. Which is totally crazy. I don't know how that happens. I don't know how that works. I don't want to know. I mean, I would love to know, but holy cow. I heard there were over 100 tornadoes. 100 tornado warnings ahead of the hurricane. At least 20 confirmed. 20 confirmed. Oh, and Sudike is here. Welcome, Sudike. 20 confirmed tornadoes. So I didn't hear an upper number, but 20 is a lot. So I'm gonna paint everything around this cat except for the mouth and the eyes. And because it's black, I think I can get away with that. And we're going to have to add quite a bit of detail here coming up, but I think we can get away with it here. And we'll come up with something that's quite nice. And I think very Halloween-y. By the way, I should ask, I think I asked last year, this has nothing to do with hurricanes or tornadoes. Does anybody do anything for Halloween? Growing up, I used to like to decorate the house and the yard, and we would do a whole spread, and we'd put a cemetery in our, or at least we would put styrofoam tombstones anyways in our yard, and we'd put leaves around, and we'd play scary music and whatnot. And it kind of fell away from doing some of that, but my wife is a big fan of doing things for Halloween, and so we've picked up that tradition. And so I just want to ask anybody. Oh, Michelle is here. Hello. Does anybody do anything for Halloween? We'll have a little party over here, and the kids will have some friends over. We'll totally decorate everything all up here, but just have some fun with it. Okay, so I got this guy here, and quite honestly, he's looking a little bedraggled, right? He could be looking a little better. So, a couple of things that we want to do. The first thing is, this gray, or this dark, is really the same as this dark. So we want to make those a little bit different. So I'm going to make those a little bit different by intensifying the color back on his body, right? I want this, as it dries and lightens, to stand out a little bit more. So I'm gonna add to the color back behind, back here. I'm gonna make a little bit of a stronger mixture, and I'm gonna put down here, and I'm gonna blend it down. And if I'm doing it right, what we'll end up with is a line under the chin of this cat that should look as though that face then, pops forward a little bit. So I'm going to grab this and blend this down. Not a whole lot of big Halloween celebrators here. That's okay. Hope everybody gives out a little bit of candy to the kids at least. Tries to scare the kids. That's one of the things tried to do quite a bit. I think the kids nowadays are a little harder to scare, quite honestly, probably than I was growing up. There we are. Maybe we can add a little bit more over here. We might come back and adjust some of this color, but already you can see that his head really is standing out over above the rest of his body here. Or at least I hope that's what it looks like. Just trying to adjust a little bit of the color as I go down. You all know I like to blend the colors out quite a bit. So I'm going to do that a little bit. So there's our start. There's our start. Yeah, if I look up here, it really does look like his head is closer to me than the rest of his body here, which is pushed back a little bit. All right. Now, the other thing we need to do is give his head some roundness. So if you look at his picture here, one of the things I liked about this picture is you can clearly see on his snout, right? It's a bit whiter. It's not all white, but it's definitely lighter, and you can see it almost looks like he's got like a goatee, a mustache, and a little beard there. I like that. I'm going to replicate that in this gray color by making the rest of him a little bit darker, right? And then on top of that, so that's this area here. That should continue to lighten a bit. And we'll add some darkness underneath for some shadow and whatnot. In addition to that, we need to make his head rounder. And so we've got some shading to do down here and right up on the top. But we're going to get to all of that. The cat is looking good so far. He's looking mean. He's looking mean. He's a scary cat. He's not looking good. He's looking scary. I think what I'm going to do, so his teeth aren't exactly white, and I don't want them to be quite white. So I'm going to paint his teeth just a little stained with color, and I'm going to do that first before I do the rest of his mouth, because the red of his tongue and the black or the dark of the rest of his mouth is quite a bit darker, and we can get away with painting a darker over a lighter color. So I'm going to do a little bit of color on his teeth right here. Am I giving him green eyes? I am planning on giving him green eyes. I certainly am. I hope to some extent it's going to match the background a little bit. Maybe not exactly, but a little bit. And we'll be able to have a painting that kind of is cohesive throughout, right? That's the plan anyways. We'll see how well we can execute that, but that's the general plan. Who's here? Sherry's here. Sherry, wait. Natalie, hi, Sherry. Oh, I missed Sherry. I've been watching. They've been getting tornadoes along with the hurricane. No, where did I miss? Sherry just came in. No. Oh, I don't know. Everybody's saying hello, and I thought I missed something in there. I don't think I did. I don't think I did. Put a little bit of color on some of these teeth, a little bit, just to make them scary. You need the cat's eye color. We're gonna get it. Yeah, it's gonna be a yellowy green. It's gonna stand out. Maybe we'll do a little bit of Phthalo Green and yellow and make it a little iridescent. Phthalo Green with some, I don't want to get too much green in my yellow. There we go. With some yellow, some Hansa Yellow, cold yellow. And then, come on, get a little bit more of this. And then we can darken some of that around the edges with some of our Cobalt Green. I'm trying to think of the colors. Some Cobalt Green along with some of that Phthalo Green, I think will be a good eye color. Look at that. Is that a good cat eye color right there? Would that scare you if you saw that? It kind of scared me. I have to be honest. That would kind of scare me if I saw an eye that was that color. I can't put a little black line down the middle because it'll run a little bit. But that's my general plan for the eye color. It's not exactly the background color, but it's close. It's got the same basic colors in there. Okay, what's wet and what is dry? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of our color here. This seems dry at the top, and this is almost dry. I can kind of put my hand on it, and I'm going to start putting some color on and trying to give some roundness to. Sudike says, I learned something new today. The Zorn palette, ivory black, cad red light, yellow ochre, and white. Very interesting. Zorn palette. I've never heard of the Zorn palette. Tell me more about the Zorn palette. Where did you hear of, learn of, gain any understanding of the Zorn palette? Yeah, Natalie says the same thing. I've never heard of the Zorn palette. Do tell, please. Inquiring minds want to know, what is the Zorn palette? And how can we find out more about it? So it's ivory black, cad red, yellow ochre, and white. So that's an interesting palette. There's no blues in there. So you can't make a green with it. Almost sounds like something like if you were a medieval magician or something, you would use that palette to dress yourself or to paint your scenery with or something like that. It's an interesting bit of color choices. All right, I'm just dropping some color in the ears as I look at the ears there, and you can look and tell me, and if you need me to put that bigger picture back up, the ears to me look like they're darker. I'm going to do it on myself. They're darker here. No, they're darker here on the what I'm going to call the inside, and as they move to the outside, they get lighter and lighter. So I'm going to try to mimic that to some extent. And I'm just going to continue to mix up some color and move my way right around his head here. Each time adding a little layer and darkening as we go. And if we do it in little light layers like this, we can make some fine adjustments if we need to. If we think that there's an area that needs a little bit more color or an area that needs a little less color, this will allow us to do that fairly easily. Yes, I'm turning my palette a little bit. And so, oh wait, there's Zorn information up here. I need to see a little Zorn information. Learned a bit on this art show. Palette was used by Anders Zorn, a Swedish artist who was born in 1860 and died in 1820. Or 1920s. 1820s, he would have lived backwards, which would have been interesting. He's Swedish. That's interesting. It's a strange color palette for sure. I think you could do some cool things with it. Looks like a bat when it's upside down. Oh, let's take a look. Does it really? I would suppose it could. Oh, it kind of does. Oh, it really does, doesn't it? Oh, that's funny. It does look like a bat. It does. See, mixing up some more of this dark. Come on, And again, there's nothing to this dark color. Oh, some people use it to learn about values. I can see that. You limit the number of colors in it, and I can see where it would help with it's better than black and white, right? Black and white, you're just limiting it to 2. So it's better than black and white. You get a little wider range, but it's not so many colors. As soon as you mix in blue, you really open it up to all the colors, and then it could really get confusing. So I get it. I mean, honestly, I don't get it because they're weird colors, but I get it because I can totally understand how it could happen, that you could see that you could use it that way, I guess is what I'm trying to say. That's interesting. The Zorn palette. Zorn added Cobalt Blue when he wanted greens and blues. Interesting. So his palette didn't just have those, he had more. Still pretty interesting. I'm going to look up the Zorn palette. I'm going to write it down here in just a second when I get done with this, and then I can look up the Zorn palette later. So did I miss it? Oh, you learned about an art show. I was about to ask, and how did you come across the Zorn palette? It was an art show that you were watching. Those pesky art shows with interesting information. How dare they? The Zorn palette. So, the big question is, does it make you want to run out and use the Zorn palette? Does it make you want to go out and use it so that like his, I'm going to make an adjustment to my drawing here. His face looks a little lopsided. Still looks a little lopsided, but it's better. We'll work on that. Does it make you want to run out and use the Zorn palette? That's the question. Because it does sound like a pretty interesting experiment anyways. I don't know. When he said he used it for teaching, interesting. It doesn't sound like something you would use in your everyday art career. Although, I guess stranger things have happened, right? It seems to be a portrait palette. Wow, that's weird. Oh, Michelle, you must be looking it up right now. A portrait palette. Interesting. Okay, so we're getting a little darker values. Well, it looks really weird right now, but it does look very bat-ish. Whoever said that, I think you're right. So getting some darker values down at the bottom, right, kind of underneath where there isn't as much or shouldn't be as much light. And we'll get some lighter values up at the top up here. I do want to make sure that we've got some nice darks up here. Boy, I drew this, right? I drew this and I went, oh, that's not a bad circle for his head. Doesn't look too bad. And, oh, it's just basically, it's a cone for, his muzzle here. Well, that doesn't look too bad. And now that I'm painting it, I'm going, holy cow, what was I looking at when I drew this? This is horrible. It really needs some help. I would say I hope this has happened to somebody else other than me, but I, having seen it, I really don't. It looks a bit odd right now, but like I said, we'll clean it up. I learned it on Art School Live with Eric Rhodes. Landscape artists tend not to use it. I never heard of Eric Rhodes, which doesn't mean anything. Really doesn't mean anything at all. So he just uses it for value, but does he use it as any means of like an underpainting and then it ever goes back on top of it or anything like that? Or is it just, that's it? It's not, is it a finished painting when they're done? You said he used it for teaching and learning. I'm kind of curious what the outcome or the disposition of how that really is. Just adding a little bit of red here to this. Right, maybe there's a little bit of you know, some kind of fleshy color inside these. Red, yellow, blue, black, and white. That's not so unique. Yeah, but originally it was red, yellow, black, and white. The blue, well, I don't know, right? I'm gonna say, well, the blue was this or that. I don't really know. All right, it's got this little bit of hair right here, just behind that ear. It looks very bat-ish, doesn't it? It was just a simple palette. All right, I'm down with the simple palette. If I could use a simpler palette, I probably would. The problem is, I like all the other colors. There's so many other cool colors. So this is a little Pyrrol Red, maybe a touch of Maroon Perylene thrown in there, just to keep it dark. I don't want it super like bright red. Doesn't need to be like that, but I do want to get some red on his tongue as he's sticking it out here a little bit, or I guess as you see it as he's meowing at us here. And hopefully this will end up looking like a tongue or a tongue-ish structure, tongue adjacent. So it kind of looks like he's sticking his tongue out at you. Kind of. And I think if I took a little bit of the color away here and here, lightened it just a little bit, might look like it's sticking out a little bit more. Can bring this dark, maybe I can bring this dark down the middle just a little bit more. Look at him. He's totally sticking his tongue out at us. Imagine that. I'm just drying my. I'll let you see what I'm doing. I'm trying to get just enough of that color off. Damp brush, pull it off, put my finger on it, pull some color out. Right, that should allow the sides of this tongue to stand up just a little bit more and make it look a little like it's got a little bit more dimension. Oh, look, our eye dried. Look at that. That's very eye-ish. There you go. Ooh, if you saw that in that eye in some animal, woo, that would be scary. That would be scary. Okay, let's see. What do we need to do here? Well, we might as well go with, let's start on his eye here, right? I've got some green up here. Let's get a new puddle of green. This is all phthalo green up here, and let's get some of this nice cold yellow into that. Nice and bright. Please tell me nothing is wet around that. Good. Ooh. That's going to be scary. So I'm looking up. We got a few more people here. We're up over a dozen by my counter. So I'll ask again. If you're new here, it's not a requirement or anything, but you know, if you're willing, say hello. Let everybody here say hi to you. I think there's a core group of us here that are here all the time, and we like to welcome new people. And I would like to invite you, if you have any questions about my art, if you have questions about watercolor in general, I've been doing it for a while. I could probably answer a few questions about it. If you have questions about me, my watercolor journey, happy to answer those, whatever you want. Just let me know. Just drop something into the chat there, and let's see it. Michelle says, I'll see him finished later today. It's 3:40 a.m. Ooh, go and get some sleep. 3:40 a.m. That's way late. Well, Michelle, thank you for stopping by and spending some time. I appreciate it. I'm glad you could stop in. It was good to see you here in the chat. And it's late, but I hope if you can do it this week, I hope you can do it another week. That'd be awesome to see you back here. And I totally understand. I hope you have a great rest of your week ahead of you. So please go get some good sleep. All right. Got some eyes in there. He's starting to look a little crazed. Right? We'll get some more in there. Some more craziness in those eyes. I want to get a little bit of this sepia in neutral tint, maybe a bit more of the sepia in here. I'm going to go on the inside of his mouth because I think his tongue is dry, and it's probably still a little bit too strong. Michelle is in the United Kingdom. Across the pond, as it is. So thank you for joining. And let's see, that's probably a little bit better. I probably mixed that way too strong, and I'm looking to see if my color is going to run all over my palette. Got to go around a tooth or two here. And I want this to be a little on the warmer side. It's inside the cat's mouth. I want it to be a little on the warmer side because when I paint the black of his lips, I want that to be a little on the colder side and really stand out. So I want to make this a little on the warmer side. So I don't always use straight black, but I think for this instance, I'm going to be using some mostly straight black. And that's okay. Actually, I want to pull this down a little bit. I want this to cover a little bit more right on around here. And then when we go and put in that black, if there's some of this like lighter brown right around here, that'll be fine. Probably be a little more realistic. I'm not really going for, obviously, I'm not really going for realistic, but it might be a little bit more realistic as we do this. So there we go. Ooh, look, his mouth. Oh, look, his mouth is starting to look good. A little darker up at the top up here. Right, that's deep inside of his mouth, and that can get a little lighter as it comes down. Sinica says the mouth is really looking good. Thank you. Sherry, you've never used black. Black is one of those things. It's a double-edged sword, right? Black is awesome to use, but black can also kill your painting because black is so black. It's like in a lot of ways very deadening, and so if you use too much or you don't mix it with a little something else, it can really overwhelm what you're doing, and you end up with something that just has no color. Like everything, it just sucks all the color out of everything, and then you're like, what happened to my painting? It had such life, and all of a sudden it just doesn't. Okay, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna put a little bit more. I'm gonna put a little bit more color around this guy. I feel like I'm just building up more color here. Building up more. I've got a nice gray cat. I don't necessarily want a gray cat. I want a black cat. Or really dark anyways. If we just don't use black and we use these other colors and we get some more interest into it, I'm totally all for that. Totally all for getting a little bit more interest into that. The cat, Dana says the cat is looking good. Does the cat have tonsils? Wait a minute. I don't know. I have to look deep inside there. Where would the tonsils be? No, the cat has... No, the cat doesn't have tonsils. I don't... Is that a real question? The cat has teeth here. Oh, I don't think I should have done that. I just put my brush in there and I had too much water on it. So now I'm gonna have to pull some of this more out. The cat tonsils. No, he's got a tongue and he's got fangs, right? Lower fangs and upper fangs. I suppose I could look this way and see if he's got tonsils in there. No tonsils. Not that I'm aware of. No cat tonsils. I hope that was a joke and not a a commentary on my painting. Although it would be funny if it was a commentary on my painting. So you're probably asking, why do you have a big white line going around the cat here? We're gonna do what we did last week and probably the week before, and at the end I'm gonna cover that with a lot of a dark right at the end, and so hopefully that isn't there for too much longer. But good. Just joking. I'm like, wait, what? Cat tonsils? I really painted it wrong. Which I'm not putting past me. All right, he's getting darker. He's getting blacker. I think what I want to do, I want to start to mix up. Believe it or not, we're not too far from the end of this. Believe it or not too far. We're a little ways to go, but I want to start mixing up some of my black that's going to go around the edges, and I want to start to put a little bit on here, right? Maybe there's a couple of hairs that come off this guy. And this is really the cool part about doing some of this dark like this, is you can really get some nice colors in a few of these areas. And I'm going to put some dark right up along here. And any of you who have cats, or you know some of you has cats, you've spent any time around cats, you know that cats have a lot of hairs that grow across their ears. So I'm going to put a whole bunch of those in right now, just about like that. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to reach just onto his head. I'm going to drop on some hairs here and there. Maybe there's a couple more that come across. Oh, I think that looks pretty good. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And yes, I'm stalling while some of this other stuff is drying a little bit. All right, a few hairs growing up here. And I'm hoping, right, that this isn't too much black, and I'm hoping that this isn't too disparate from the other colors that are on here, because it could be a bit distracting, but I think we can get some nice ones on here. Tracy, hello. Glad to see you here. Always good to have you in the studio. Thank you for joining. And I'm going to get a little bit right across here. A couple of hairs that grow out this way. Do the same thing on this side. With any luck, that covers up some of, there we go. Ooh, and now the ears are kind of done. I like that. The ears are mostly done. Mostly done. I could probably give a little bit of darkness here. A few hairs out here, something. All right. I like it. Tracy says, looks like a very fun picture today. Thank you. Thank you. And because of that, you're welcome back. Well, no, you're always welcome back. You're always welcome back. I'm going to start to do some shading underneath his nose here. Maybe it's a little bit of color that's going to set this off. Yes, I will be painting his nose darker, but I want to make sure we know what we need to paint. There it is. There's his nose. And you know what? As long as we're doing simple shading, well, we've got around his nose. Well, we've also got underneath his chin down here, right? This needs a little bit of shading. Just a little bit, maybe a little bit more than that, actually. So you can see that his chin is indeed round. I'm going to clean this up in just a quick second here. It's so funny to look up there on my screen and look down here. Sometimes they look so different. Sometimes. All right. What can I paint now? What? Where can I go to? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna paint around his eyes here, right? He's got. Actually, I should just do this. He's got this whole area right in here. I'm just gonna pull this down. That marks his nose, right? This is where his nose comes up. Almost right to the tip of his eye and right on down, and that'll help us define everything and kind of probably tie a lot of this together. Yeah, I think it's getting there. Now I know we've got some work to do is what we've got. We've still got some work to do. His chin, I think his chin is good. Remember I said I was going to paint his lips really black, right? I'm going to do that right now. And I think it's going to be dark enough against the... I just need to not touch anything that's currently wet. I think it's going to be dark enough against his lips and his chin here that we're really going to see his mouth pop out, and it's a bad brush stroke that we're going to fix. Just like that. I should say, this is the hardest thing for me to do in watercolors, is to do a precise line like this. I have a hard time because the paint is dark, the bristles are dark, the place the paint is going to is dark. Makes everything difficult, and then the paper isn't flat. That doesn't help. It's got all these little bumps on it. I guess if I'd have thought about it, I'd have used some hot press paper or something like that. It would have probably helped out quite a bit, but I didn't. And so this is what we're using, and this is what we've got, and we're going to make it work. I'm just hoping this isn't looking too dark. I think it's okay. By the time we get a little bit more dark in here in some other places, I think that'll be all right. Like one place could be his nose. He's supposed to be a black cat, by the way. So I'm going to ask the question, does anybody have a black cat? Does anybody out there currently have a black cat? I will admit to you that I have 3 of them. So on Halloween, don't come around my house because you're going to find lots of black cats. If you think it's bad luck, holy cow, there must be some really bad luck at my house. Let's see, I'm going to pull this down just a little bit here. His whiskers will make the difference. He's going to get some whiskers. They're going to go out. I promise the whiskers. You're right, and you're right. We do need whiskers for sure. We definitely need whiskers on here. Excuse me. Oh, my Lord. I don't know where that came from. Has anyone tried the extra white Arches paper? It's a good question. I have used it. I wouldn't say that I use it on any regular kind of basis. I've used it. I don't know, quite honestly, that I noticed that it's that big of a difference. Underneath any of the other paint that I've used or anything like that. I think the big benefit of the extra white paper is that if you're leaving a highlight, your highlight is going to be that much more apparent, right? It's just going to be that much more white, and I don't tend to leave a whole lot of highlights with white. Never had an all black cat. Had a pure white Angora cat though. He was sweet, but about as stupid as they come. Oh, well, we all make up for things in our own special way, I guess. Oh, I have 3. I have Shadow, right? And Shadow is, how old is Shadow? Shadow's been with us for a while. I want to say Shadow's got to be 10 or 11. Somewhere in there. And then I've got Penny. And Penny came to me as a 6-year-old in 2020. As a rescue in 2020. Penny's a rescue cat from 2020. And then I have Cowboy, who is a big lumbering brute. And Natalie, you want to talk about a cat that's not very bright? I will put Cowboy up against anybody. Cowboy is something. Brilliant will never be used to describe Cowboy. Like I said, that's okay. I guess he's got his charms too, somewhere, somehow. I don't know. Just, Cowboy hates me. I try to be really nice to Cowboy and he still hates me. I don't quite get it. Let's see. Susie says, I ordered some extra white arches and it doesn't look any different than a traditional white. I wanted to paint snow scenes. Okay, yeah. I don't know how much extra white is. The Fabriano Artistico extra white is much whiter. That should work out really nice. Let's see. Stuka says, I was a cat person for over 30 years. I got a dog, a boxer, right before I retired. Oh, I want a dog. I love my cats. I love my chickens. Well, I do want a dog. I want to get a beagle. I had beagles growing up. I loved my beagles. They were fantastic. It's just a dog is not in the cards for me right now. A boxer would be fun. I had a pug at one point in time. A pug named Lulu, and Lulu was wonderful. She really was. She was a rescue also. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Now that looks a little, to me this looks a little better for a snout. There's a little bit more color on here as it comes down. I still want to take a little bit of extra color off of here. Right, that lip right there shouldn't have a whole lot of color on it. Maybe even a little bit more than that. Get a little bit of that color off. Okay, cool. So that's got a little color on that. I like the way this is developing here, kind of around the side of the muzzle. I don't even know if you call it a muzzle on a cat. The mouth. I like how it's going. Tracy is saying snow doesn't necessarily need to be white. Snow doesn't need to be white or that white. Just the one suggestion I would make is don't paint it on yellow paper. Stay away from the yellow snow. Snow doesn't need to be that white. Natalie says, I had a beagle collie mix growing up. She loved hunting woodchucks. Yeah, that's the one downside of the beagle, is that they are such a hunting dog. Is that I don't know that they will ever or can ever really break out of that. And you got to be careful from time to time, where they will just take off and start hunting, and then you're left going, what do I do? All right. So we're developing some good catness here. or do we need to flip this upside down and make sure that we're painting a bat? This snout is just not what I want here. I want this to come up a little further. I'm gonna move this in a little bit. I don't know if I can even do this. That to me looks a little better. I don't think that's perfect, but to me that looks a little better. It was too straight. It was too angular. It was bothering me a little bit. This looks a little bit better. Right off the inside of that eye. We can get rid of most of that line. Yes, much better, much better. Okay. Your little dog loves to hunt rodents. Wait. Terry Harrison's book. Sherry, who's who's Terry Harrison? Who are all these strange people I don't know about? All right, now I need to, or I want to, anyways, I'm going to go up a little bit larger brush size. She would bring the dead woodchucks home, and the neighbor's Irish setter would take them to his yard. That's funny. That's perfect, though, right? You get all the fun, or the dog gets all the fun of hunting and catching, and somebody else gets all the fun of cleaning up. That's probably not really a good thing. Probably not really a good thing. I'm just going to put a little color in here. I'm going to blend most of this out. But I want a little color on this guy's forehead. I don't want it to be just plain up there. I gotta be careful. It's almost started to look a little wolfish, if you ask me. Almost starting to look a little wolfish. But we'll take care of that. I guess I can put some more of this color in kind of however I want here, right? It does look a little wolfish. I think who said it? I think the whiskers are really going to make this at the end. I think they are. But before then, I'm going to go back and I'm going to get some of my black here. And I will admit to not liking painting fur. Right? Fur really bothers me. I have a hard time painting individual fur bits. Whether it's the fact that I don't have the patience to sit down and paint that little bit of fur, or I just don't have the ability to paint it. I guess you can make the case either way. But I'm going to do what I always do, which is to pull a little bit of something out and pull a little bit of something in. And whoever views this will just automatically see fur because it's got those little bits of lines here and there. I can live with that. I can live with that. I can totally live with that. Cover up all this white. This is why I wasn't worried about the white before. I knew I was going to get rid of that white. And this is where I really am worried that this black will or could kill this painting. Right, there's a lot of black I'm putting on here. A lot of black. Teresa, you don't like painting fur either. I am totally with you on that. Great minds think alike. Fur is tough. Fur is tough. I give all credit to people who can paint it. Like I said, I don't know if it's mentality, I don't know if it's patience, I don't know if it's ability, but I don't like painting fur. And so I find ways like this to not to have to. Okay, cool. Getting there with our black cat. Looking better and better all the time. I'm gonna continue with some black. I'm gonna put a little bit of neutral in it so we don't get too dark in here. A little bit more water, and this is gonna okay, I'm not gonna do it quite yet. I was going to do the black around the eyes, but maybe not quite yet. But I will do this right around the top of the head. Right? And we can connect these dark areas together. And maybe a little fleck of some fur here and there. Kind of looks like he's got like a toupee on. The cat is looking a little hellish. Yes! Again, I hope you mean that in a great way. No, he's supposed to be a little scary and a little mean and aggro, right? It's a Halloween cat. He's getting there. I actually really like the kind of the way he's looking. I like the muzzle on this one. Look, and again, I don't even know if that's the right word. I can't point on that picture, but you can see how it's white, how it stands out, like it pops out. It makes it stick out of the painting. I really like that. I really do. Now, while I'm waiting for some of this to dry up here, I'm gonna re-wet a little bit down here and add some dark in here, right? I don't know where his legs come to. Somewhere over here. This leg comes over there. Let's put a little bit of this dark in there. Maybe we put a little bit of the dark on the outside. I don't want to provide too much detail to his body, but I want just enough so you recognize what that is. Right? We need to do a little bit there. We just don't want to do too much. And maybe add a little bit more color underneath his chin. Being oh so careful to get within a hair away from it so we don't touch that black that's still just a little bit wet. A little better. Not sure it's brilliant yet, but it's getting there. Trying to be bold with some of my colors. I bet the hair is standing up on his back. I bet the hair is standing up on his back. I so wanted to find an image of a cat that was had an arched back and was kind of hissing. I couldn't really find one that I liked. So this is what I settled on. I'm hoping that this is just as well. And I think I got a tie line over here that I don't want. Okay, all right. Oh, he's looking angry for sure. Not quite dry, so we can probably paint in a pupil. And we'll go back over top of it and put in a little highlight in just a second. Yeah, he definitely needs a highlight, but he's definitely not looking happy. I don't know what he's doing, but he's definitely not a happy camper here. I'm going to mix a little bit of, well, my maroon didn't want to come out, so I'll use alizarin crimson here. Give me just a little bit of this blue. I want a little bit of purplish, reddish purplish color, because I want to push this tongue back even further than it is. I want this to be a little darker back here. Right, I'm trying to be true to and preach what I say. No, preach what I say. That doesn't make any sense. Do what I say. Is that right? I think I'm going to do a few practice pages for painting only. Let's see, Sudik, they sell Harrison paint and brushes. I don't bother with all, I just look at his paints. Okay. I want to darken this because I want this to be back further in his mouth. And this can come out and can come down the middle a little bit like that. Yeah, I want that to be further, as far back in his mouth as we can go. Needs to be way back there. If I drop a little blue in here, maybe strengthen this a little bit, we can maybe push that back a little bit too. These are all fiddly niggly things, but sometimes these little things make a big difference in your painting. Right, I'm hoping that this is going to be one of those times. Yeah, his tongue looks like it goes way back in there now. Way back in there. Just wish I'd gotten that all the way up. Okay. Yeah, he's definitely let's see. Sherry says, I find snow is easy. I've had lots of experience with the real stuff. Sherry, you can have all the snow experience you want. Of that, I won't ask you for any. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna wet his nose here. I'm going to take some of my black and I'm going to make a couple lines across it this way. Does that make it look like it pushes back a little bit? I'm going to put some black underneath his eyes. It's going to be like some eye black or something here, like he's playing a football game or a baseball game. I want these eyes to really stand out. I'm going to push this color right back up. I'm going to do the same thing on this side too. Right, give me that dark color. Let's go right up there and push this eye way back. Right, let's make that stand out. So this is the fun part of doing all of this, right? Figuring out all these layers how we want it to look. And it looks nothing like he started with. Well, I mean, it looks vaguely like he started with, because we started with a drawing that looked vaguely like this. But the more we go, we've changed his whole snout area. We've changed the darkness around his eyes. We've changed a whole lot of the way he looks now. And I think he's looking better, actually. I actually like him more now than I did about 15 minutes ago. Holy cow. I just looked at the clock. We've been doing this an hour and a half. Wow. You're learning ingredients so much from me. Like ingredients, like to ward off a cat like this, you should always use a little bit of garlic. Take that. That's an ingredient. I hope that's not what you're learning from me. That'll be next week when we do a vampire. So I'm gonna take this really dark color here, and we're going to start to enhance this eye, and we're going to do that. Right, we're going to do the same thing on this side. Right, we're going to take this color right up over his eye. Right on around. Now we do have to do a bit of this on the underside too. And I am a little cognizant that some of this just looks like outlining. And I'll say you're not completely wrong. But it's outlining with purpose and timing. Right? Because as we outline the underside of that eye, that's all just going to bleed out into that wet that we got. And all of a sudden, look, his face does look different now than it did 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago. Right, his nose looks a little longer with the stripes on top there. Looks a little longer, or hopefully it looks a little longer. From where I'm sitting, I think it looks a little bit longer. His face looks a little more deeper, a little more inset. Know how I got ingredients got there. Sudikus' botanical art is amazing. I don't know. I don't think so. Let's see. Have you ever seen Tony Foster's work? He's also based in the UK. No. You mostly know the botanical artist. You'll look him up. Okay, cool. Let's see. His eye's good there. So I'm going to do a couple of things here. I'm going to, because we are getting close. I'm going to put a couple of dots on his eye. And I'm going to actually put a little bit on his nose, like that. I think it looks a little funny, but that's okay. I like the way it went on his eye. I think his eye looks a lot better now. And we have to, the part I've been dreading the most, maybe he needs frown lines. Well, how's he going to get frown lines? I don't know how to do frown lines. I could see where he would need frown lines. He's certainly fierce looking. Thank you. think, let's see, I've got a couple of tiny brushes here. Wow, they're both that's interesting. I've got a 2/0 brush, and I've got a number 1 brush, and I've got this brush. So I'm going to do this. I don't know that I've used these brushes in years. Whew, I got something flying right here, but we're going to try this out for good or for bad. And I'm going to try to be brave. And throw on a few whiskers. That's got a big ball of paint right on the end there. Few whiskers. I've got some that I'm just looking at my reference photo there. See if I can get a couple that come out a little bit further. And maybe come down. There we go. Well, okay. So, let me see if I can do this. On this side, you can really see him. On this side, you can see him too. But if I drop it back here, it gets much more difficult. Not sure I like that. You know what I do want to do, though? I think you can do frown lines. I'm not sure how to do frown lines. Frown lines. I'm going to do this. So all of this down here, and I'm going to grab a giant brush. All of this down here, I think needs to be darker. Anybody agree with me? I'm cool with his head being lighter. Now that I have the head the way I want it, or roughly the way I want it, this looks too light. So I'm going to forego some of the difference between his cheek on this side and that side and his body. I'm going to bring those colors closer together, and hopefully we're not going to match those colors. Yes, darker. Yeah, darker is going to be better here. So we're going to make these closer together, but I think in general, the whole picture will be better with this is a bit darker. I think as this developed, it just needs this. It just needs it. And if anybody does this on their own and they get to this point and they go, this needs to be darker, and now I feel like I've just didn't do this right and I should have started darker and blah, 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 realize, you know what? It's part of the process. You start with a plan, and basically watercolors are going to say, yeah, I don't like your plan. Your plan needs to change a little bit, and being able to roll with it that little bit is going to help out. And knowing how to correct, I'm not going to call it an error. It's not an error by any stretch, but knowing how to correct those areas where things could be made a little bit better is really going to help your paintings out. See, now if I put some arms on here like this, darken it out here. I don't know. Let's bring this all the way up. Some shoulder work. I'm just trying to see. You know, what might make this a little bit better. A little bit of something on the outside there, something on the inside here. I think darker looks better. Ooh, he looks mean. he really looks mean. Not sure I like it. All right, cool. Wow. That little bit of dark. So I'm looking at this, and I liked him before. That little bit of dark, not only did it, I guess, bring more cohesion to the whole thing, but now that this is the only light area here, man, that really stands out now. That looks like he's ready to. If he's not hissing and screaming at you, holy cow! I don't know what he's doing, but he looks a bit angry. You see what I mean by frown lines? Most striped cats have pretty symmetrical, distinctive facial markings on the forehead and around the eyes. Yes, he does. They do. They do. Look, I'll show you here. There you go. Symmetrical marks around the eyes, on the forehead. They have them. I'm going to say, you know what? This is not a tiger cat. This is just your regular domestic short-haired cat. No lines. I'll tell you what. I liked him before we darkened this. I like him a lot more after we darkened it. I think he turned out fantastic. Don't ever be afraid to push some boundaries. Probably will really help your paintings out. I think it really helped him out quite a bit. Sadiqa says, Michael, I don't think I could paint a black cat from a striped cat picture. Sure you could. You just take the stripes and you ball them up and throw them away. Everything else is the same. But I wanted the look of the image, and I wanted to see, every time I look at that guy, I have him over there on my computer monitor. Every time I look at him, I want to see the fierceness in him. I want to see the anger coming out of him, and that's all I want. The color I can paint. I mean, the stripes I could paint too. I just didn't plan on it or start on it. It would take quite a bit more work, and I've got these big blotches here that would be hard to do at this point. So I'm gonna say he's not a striped cat. Yeah, thank you, Natalie. The darker body really does help with the face. I thought it wouldn't, but it did. Okay, so that's what I've got for everybody this evening. Pushing his boundaries is a great way to learn, even if you're doing it live in front of a whole bunch of people. That's what I've got for everybody this evening. Next week we'll do another Halloween thing, and then is that the end of the month? I don't know. Your side doesn't look like that. We need to get his food on time. I don't know if we have 2 or 3 more. We must have 3 more paintings to do. We'll do a few more Halloween stuff. Something fun next week too. Hope we all join back up and have a few laughs and enjoy painting something else. Until then, I hope you have a great rest of your evening. If you are able to have any more evening and not just going straight to bed, I hope you have a great rest of your week. And I hope you're able to join me back here next week for another painting. Until then, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here, helping to make my Wednesday enjoyable. So until next week, thank you so much. Bye-bye.